What's up? Welcome back to the Your Everyday Strength podcast. My name is Josh Sternberg. And if you're just joining us here for the very first time, welcome. Thank you for being here. If you are returning, you've listened to a few episodes before, again, thank you very much for coming back. This is episode 21. Pretty sure. Fuck, I should probably know that. But anyways, pretty sure it's episode 21. As you can see here, I have with us a guest. This man, if you follow me on social media in any capacity, then you absolutely know who he is. It's Mr. Kivah-Nova Franze. Yes, that is his real government name. But basically, I'm allowing him to introduce himself. And I have specifically instructed him to cut out as many words as he can and make this as succinct as possible. So we'll see how he goes. I was going to set a specific word limit, but we'll just see. We'll see how he goes. So please.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Hope you're all doing extremely well on this beautiful morning or afternoon or evening, depending on when you're listening to this. And that too. My name, as Joshua said, is Kivah-Nova Franze. I am a 21-year-old powerlifter. Some people also don't know this. Josh is my dad. So there you go. The bag's out. He's my dad.
The bag's out. You mean the cat's out?
The cat's out of the bag. That's the one. Yeah. That's the podcast.
If you're my accountant, I know I've been saying that I don't have any dependents for the better part of my entire life. Just ignore this. The ATO, Centrelink, whatever. We don't need to worry about this one.
No, thank you very much for having me on the podcast.
That's all right, mate. For those of you who don't know, I'm still coming off the back of being sick. Again, thank you to the Gold Coast. And thank you for working from home for absolutely obliterating my immune system. But for those of you who don't know, I have actually worked with Kivah for the better part of 6 years.
Come on, 6 years now.
6 years or so. Kivah is also my housemate. We have lived together for, collectively like 3 or 4 years.
4 years? Yeah.
Somewhere around there. We've lived together for quite a while now. No, I am not his legitimate dad, but his parents do claim me as his second parent, third parent technically. So, I'm basically part of the family. And yeah, so today's episode was essentially, a lot of people know Kivah. A lot of people have seen Kivah on social media. They've seen him on mine. They've seen him on this. They've seen him on that. We're coming off the back of having APL Nats down in Melbourne a couple of weeks back. Obviously, the last episode that I did was based around that. Didn't get to do an episode last week because we were actually meant to record this, and I ended up spending the entire day on the couch with my hoodie over my head, just laying there because I physically couldn't do anything. But anyways, we've made it. We're here. It's early in the morning. My tongue's blue. Started using methylene blue. If anybody knows what that is, if you don't, feel free to ask. But
yes,
Kivah, you mentioned you were a powerlifter.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Awesome. It is awesome. It's great.
But what else do you do? Like, give us the history of Kivah. For people, if they are listening to this podcast for the very first time and they don't know who the fuck you are, give us the little rundown on you.
All right. I'll try and keep it as short and sweet, but give you all the details needed. So, look, growing up, I had a little bit of an autoimmune disease, had a bit of a kidney disease growing up. So I was constantly in and out of hospital. I was always playing with a little bit of, I guess you would say, just trips to the hospital. And I wanted to sort of find something that I was passionate about. I tried all sorts of sports and eventually nothing really clicked until I found the gym. When I found the gym, started training with mates, as most people do, most young kids do. Found powerlifting, found strength training, loved it. The second that I started, fell in love with it straight away, pursued it from there. That then led me to EMF. So I would come up on the weekends with my dad, and then I'd go and train at EMF, which is where I met Josh. So Josh took me under his wing, guided me in the process of powerlifting and my progression. From there, we formed a bit of a relationship, and it was mostly client and coach. And then obviously that developed into the friendship that we have today. So pursued powerlifting for what would probably be a consistent 4 years now, coming on to 5 years, building a bit of a foundation. And then from there, taking the passion that he had for coaching and the passion for people around me who were in coaching, I was like, I think this is something I sort of want to fall into. I'm very fortunate in the sense that the people around me have provided me a space to do so. So for those of you who don't know, I work at Nexus Gym in Burleigh Heads, where I am a gym assistant, coach, do a bit of everything. So really wanting to fall into the world of coaching a lot more, because I know what it's like to achieve something, and I know the feeling I get and the joy that I get from achieving a certain goal is something that I'm passionate about. So I think being able to be that for someone else and help guide someone in that direction is something that I'm incredibly passionate about. It's something that brings me a lot of joy as well. So that's something I'm trying to fall into a little bit more, and seeing a lot of success so far, and I'm just happy to keep progressing it a little bit more as well.
Yeah. And so there's a couple of things in there that we're going to backtrack and go through firstly. The first thing he mentioned is he said he had a little bit of an autoimmune disease.
Yes.
Little bit.
Little bit.
Little bit would give you the understanding that potentially it wasn't that bad.
No, it was
But
fairly severe. So it's called nephrotic syndrome. For anyone who knows, it's a autoimmune, but also a kidney disease. So what that does is it affects the autoimmune system, but also the filtration system through the kidneys. So what that would basically look like is I constantly be out of hospital every few weeks or so. Be in for 2 weeks, out for 3. Back in for a week, out for 4. And it was just a constant cycle. What that basically means is I would relapse. So my body would fill up with this fluid. I'd become real achy. I couldn't breathe properly, couldn't see properly. I became very lethargic and heavy. And basically it was a case of get me into the hospital, drain the fluid. So it was really hard to become consistent with any forms of sports. And, growing up, I was just a very active kid. I loved playing sports. I loved being active. I loved being outdoors. But it made it really hard to do any sort of team sport because we didn't really know when I would flare up again. And it could happen overnight. I could go to bed fine. 12 o'clock, I'm in relapse. And they have to rush me to hospital. So, as I said, it was really hard to be consistent with team sports or any form of training at all. As I got a little bit older, it's one of those diseases where you sort of kind of grow out of it. So the more that you mature and the older that you get, I think it was around 13 is where it sort of started to die off a little bit. And that's when I was starting to experiment with a few more sports and things that I could do. Playing with footy, played NRL and AFL, both of which are contact sports, as we know. Because my left kidney is actually at the front of my body, any form of contact sports was a bit interesting because I started getting a few pains through that area. There were a couple of times where I ended up in the hospital and they were just examining what's going on. Long story short, one day doctors were like, hey, look, this is connected a bit differently to normal kidneys. If it ruptures or something happens, we just don't know how it's going to affect the disease or affect you. So for me, that kind of put a bit of that's a bit of a bummer. Can't really do sports that I enjoy doing. So I went on a bit of a little spree. I did martial arts, play around with that, which again, contact sports, it probably wasn't the best idea, but still played around with a bit of everything. And then one day I was in grade 8 and one of my best mates from school was like, hey, come to the gym with me this afternoon. And I hadn't been in a gym before and I was like, yeah, why not? So went in, he showed me the ropes, he showed me a few things. Before I knew it, there I was. I absolutely loved everything about it. And it wasn't a contact sport. So
it wasn't, no, correct. No. Unless you, I don't know, battle for supremacy
at the gym
or something.
Something like that.
You shouldn't be getting contacted in a gym. Progressing through there, and we sort of touched on it a little bit, we met at EMF. I remember the first day I ever saw Kivah, and those nowadays everybody knows them. They're the TikTok list, the young fucking teen kids off of TikTok, Instagram, etc. They roll in their gangs and they ego lift like motherfuckers, and they look like they're about to die. Well, I saw this young kid, scrawny little kid, braces, man bun, beanie on,
flanny,
and he'd loaded up the barbell. It was like 180 or 190 or something like that. And I was just sitting there and I was like, oh, he's going to die. I'm going to watch this kid die right now. He was deadlifting, but I was like, I'm going to watch him. This is it for him. I'm going to have to, go and pick him up off the ground and carry him to safety. And then lo and behold, he just sat there and repped it out for a bit. And I was like, okay, well, who the fuck is this kid? And then from there was one of the other boys at the gym, Jordy.
Yep.
Jordan. And he had some discussions with Kivah. And then obviously I'd introduced myself to Kivah and we were sort of just chatting because every time I was there on a Saturday working, he would just rock up in his flanny and his fucking man bun and I'd be like, I still don't know who this kid is. Like, what is he doing? How the hell is he this strong? And we got to talking and everything like that. And then anybody who knows Kivah, and I'm sure that this is no understatement from anybody in the industry, but we'll probably say he's the nicest guy in powerlifting. It was no different back then, to the point where Kivah, I mispronounced his name for an entire year. I told everybody his name was Kivah. Not once did he correct me. Anytime I introduced him to anyone, didn't correct me, didn't tell me, didn't say anything, didn't go, oh, it's actually Kivah. It wasn't until we had done our first comp together and he had been prepped by a mate of his leading into that comp. So him and me had been training together out of Zero Weakness. I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to go to Zero. You know, you and me are doing the exact same comp. If you want to come with me, feel free. Like, talk to your dad. He can drop you off at the gym. Instead of going to EMF every Saturday, we can go to Zero together. We can train. You know, you got your program, I got mine. It'll just be nice to have somebody to prep with, blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, he did that and we were getting along and everything was good. And then after that comp, kind of sat down and was like, hey, dude, you know, I'd like to take you on board. And basically just like, was like, I'm going to coach you for free because you're fucking 16 years old, have no money and have no job. I will coach you for free and we can just see what you can get out of it, really. So we did that. And in that consult, I was like, oh yeah, cool. So Kivah, I was like, oh, full name. And he's like, Kivah-Nova Franze. And I was like, Kivah.
That's when I dropped it on him.
I was like, Kivah. I was like, yeah. I was like, I've been calling you Kivah. I've told everyone your name is Kivah. He's like, yeah, I know. I was like, okay. So for 12 months, basically, you've just been letting me call you a completely different name. But anyways, that is what it is. It's just the type of person that he is. And then from there, the world shut down. It went into all the fucking lockdowns. And this was around 2020, obviously through COVID and shit like that. And anybody who doesn't know, Kivah grew up in Mawulama, which...
Good old Merba.
We're never going to say that again.
To all my mates in Merba.
That's enough of that. It's a small town. It's a town. It exists.
It's something.
It's in northern New South Wales. And Kivah had come to the border twice and been turned around twice. And was basically told, if you try and get back through again...
There were penalties.
There will be consequences.
There were consequences.
So what Kivah decided to do is go and park his car. And if you are the government, you're not listening. Go and park his car on one side of the border, grab all of his bags, all of his equipment, everything, walk down the beach, walk down along the beach, all the way up around, get in his dad's car and come up to the gym and train.
That is.
And then it got to the point where he basically got stuck in Queensland for a period of time. And he was doing school online and we just basically trained together every day, every session for our next prep. And then since then, we've basically been working together. So What was your first total? Because I actually found a video the other day of the first time you ever squatted 200.
What a day that was.
Yeah. That was the day you nearly killed me.
That is very true.
We'll go into that.
So from memory, I believe I squatted 195, deadlifted 230, and I benched somewhere around either 115, 120. So I think I'd just broken, or I was close to just breaking a 600 from my first comp. Yeah.
Yep. And that was in the under 82s.
Yeah. That was in the under 75s at that time. I was the small boy.
You were doing disgusting water cuts.
Yeah. So I'll briefly mention that, but our first comp, I don't know if you remember. I'm pretty sure you do. I remember walking up to you. You were like, hey, mate, how you feeling? Yeah, good. Dad just drops the bomb. Oh, yeah, he did a water cut this week. And I actually hadn't mentioned anything to Josh at this time. So, yeah, I was sitting at around like 78, maybe 79. And I thought, you know what? Why not just do a water cut the week before comp? My first
Well, I mean, that is generally the time you do a water cut, but like the first comp...
Yeah, probably not the best idea.
No.
So, I did. I water cutted and got down to, I think, 74, competing in the under 75s.
Yeah, we never did that again.
Yeah, no.
But, yes, so scratching the surface of 600.
Yeah.
Obviously, fast forward, we just had APL Nats 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And what did you total there?
710.
Total 710. So for those of you playing along at home, powerlifting is a fucking long game.
It's a marathon.
Now, that was in the under 90s. And we'll go a little bit further into that shortly.
Yeah.
But with relation to like getting started and getting Kiva working through it all and everything like that, there's been a lot of like different iterations of what we've been doing in the entire time that we've been working together. So when Kiva first graduated school, he was doing a carpentry apprenticeship and didn't love it. But he got out of there and then he went to Chemist Warehouse.
Big up Chemist Warehouse.
Didn't love it. Did not love it. So we decided when I was working at Nexus still and the gym manager there, Alex at the time, we were like, we should probably try and bring Kiva on board. I mean, he's here pretty much every day anyway. He basically cleans and does everything anyway. So like, let's try and get him involved somehow, which we did, which was very fortunate. And since then, he has had a lot of opportunities presented to him, which has been fucking amazing to be able to broaden his horizons as a coach and move more into coaching, move into this space and things like that as well. And I guess from my lens, like, obviously I've known him since he was 16.
Yeah, just turned 16.
So for me, like I've got to watch him grow, you know, from a teenager. I mean, he's still technically a teenager. He's only 21.
I'm just
so
a kid.
I've got to watch him grow. And for me, it's been really cool to see like the different growth in Kiva, not just like physically, obviously from the powerlifting perspective, mentally, emotionally. As I said, we've lived together now off and on for like 4 years total or something like that. So it's been quite a long time of living together as well. And like getting to watch the growth has been really fucking cool because like, although Kiva was the world's nicest kid, he was very, very shy.
I was very shy.
And if anybody knows him now, he's not as shy, not really shy at all. And I guess that comes from, you know, consistency and pushing yourself out of your boundaries and like growth and everything like that. But watching him grow into like both the person, the lifter, etc., that he is now, and then as he mentioned, like moving into the coaching space, and his rationale and reasons for moving into the coaching space were the exact reasons that I loved coaching. Was like I had really good coaches around me. I loved what they did. I loved how they made me feel, and I wanted to be that for somebody else. Kiva has gone and done the same thing, and he is now doing very fucking well, working with quite a few clients out of Nexus, in a face-to-face capacity, online capacity, etc. And I mean, he's still sitting there. You'll still catch him fucking cleaning the floors at least twice a week.
Yeah, I do my best.
If you train there, put your fucking weights away.
Chalk in the bowl.
Chalk in the bowl. Put your fucking weights away, and do not leave weights on equipment. Do not leave equipment on the ground.
What he said.
Don't piss on the toilet seat or on the floor.
That's not fun to clean.
Exactly. This is who you're making clean it. But tell us a little bit more about how, because you're almost very similar to myself. Like you've kind of, I wouldn't say been lucky, but you've been fortunate enough to establish connections, relationships with people. That has offered you opportunities that you wouldn't have obviously had otherwise. And I've talked about it before on the potty, and I've spoken a lot about, and even in a Q&A last week that I did, where people are like, oh, how did you become what you've become? And I'm like, well, you ask questions, you learn, you be receptive, and you just be a good fucking person. And you'd be surprised like what people will actually do for you and allow for you and help you through and things like that. So give us a little bit of a rundown as to like how all that transition's gone for you, how you felt your growth through that phase of going from being a chippy and then Chemist Warehouse and then slowly working your way. Mind you, he's the world's slowest person to ever do the Cert 3-4 in fitness.
Hey guys.
I think he, at this point in time, with the amount of time he's been doing his Cert 3 and 4, I had finished my bachelor's degree in exercise science.
Yeah, probably be around that.
So, yeah.
That is I. All right, cool. So, yeah, you mentioned Chippy, Chemist Warehouse. Look, that was more in a phase where I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. Okay, so when I was, I'll be very brief here, but when I was in school, still trying to figure out what to do, and I had a really good mate of mine who was a chippy. He worked down at an R precinct down in the main hub of Melbourne, and he said that we're looking for workers. So inquired there one day, got the job, started doing just a little bit of labouring stuff here, and then eventually they offered me a chippy apprenticeship. From there, moved up to the Gold Coast, continued my chippy apprenticeship through another company. I then just taking a toll on my body and long days, and I wasn't built for it. thought I was, and I just wasn't. So once that happened, I then was like, okay, well, I need a job. My next in line was just a retail job, just get some money behind me, have something to do, and then from there kind of figure out where I wanted to fall into. So Chemist Warehouse was never really going to be a long-term thing. It was obviously just to sort of pay the bills, get some money behind me. During that time is when I was sort of figuring out exactly what I wanted to do. And then this leads to coaching. So I'm very fortunate in the sense that, as you touched on, I've had a lot of incredible people, and I have a lot of incredible people in my life who are coaches, who are in that field, such as yourself, Dave, Jordan, the Nexus team. I have so many amazing people around me who are so passionate in what they do, and they genuinely care about what they do for their clients and for the people around them. Going back to what I said before, I know how I feel when I work towards something and I achieve it. And I know how that makes me feel. That makes me hungry for more. And it makes me want to do more and be better. To then think that I could be that person for someone else to help them get to that same point is something that motivates me a lot. And I've already seen that a little bit. And that's just what keeps me going. So I think in the sense that I'm very fortunate for the people around me who have kind of carved the path or the footsteps for me to follow in that journey. I was a little bit stuck when I did first start coaching. I was like, I don't actually know if I could do this, because at that time I was still a little bit shy, and my interactions with people were a little bit different to how they are now.
They were awkward, very awkward.
They were very awkward. So I was just like, I don't know how it'd go with people. But over time, and as you said, building connections with people through the industry and building rapport with people, when you meet people, you have to talk to them. You have to get to know them. And I think through meeting different people over the years with different backgrounds and learning from them and understanding, their sort of trajectory and the way that they went about their life and how they got into their field sort of paints the picture on why can't I do that? And it sort of gives me insight on how they went about it. So I think it's all just led to this point through people who have carved the way for me and people who I idolize in this field, such as yourself, Will, Mickey, Jordan, as I said, Dave, again, all these incredible people around me. So, yeah.
I was going to make jokes about Dave then, but
no,
Dave, if you're listening, we love you.
We do love you.
I think that highlights a really important point, and it's something I definitely know I've touched on myself, but confidence comes as a byproduct of just doing the fucking thing. Like, nobody starts uber confident, and if they do, it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, and they think they know a lot because they know a little. They're actually probably fucking dumb. Not dumb, but they just don't know as much as they think they do. If you've never looked at the Dunning-Kruger effect, it's essentially a scale that represents people who learn a little bit seem to have this ideology that they actually know quite a lot. As soon as they actually start to learn more, they realize, hey, I don't know anything. And that drive, that hunger, that desire will either push them to go further, as Kivah said, or they'll walk away and go, you know what, this isn't for me, which is totally fine, because any sort of industry, like at the end of the day, no matter what industry you're in, you can walk away and start fresh anytime you like. It does not matter. You can do whatever the fuck you want in your life. If something's not for you and you work that out, great, walk away. Kivah was a chippy apprentice. He was worried about letting people down. He was worried about disappointing others by not following through with it and things like that. And everyone around him was just like, dude, you fucking hate this. It's taking a toll on your body physically. It's taking a toll on your body mentally, emotionally, every aspect of your life you do not like at the moment because of this. Let's get rid of it. Fucking walk away. You're so young. And even if you're not young, even if you are older, you can walk away at any fucking point in time. Start fresh. Yeah. There's no set box you have to live your life in. And I think that is a really important lesson. And as I mentioned, you're never going to be confident when you start, but you just have to start. I wasn't confident when I launched this podcast. I wasn't confident when I started coaching. I have been so unconfident so many fucking times. But the more you do the thing, the more discipline, the more habits you build, the more all of it that you do, and the more results you get, the more confident you become. And to a point where, for me, coaching's my thing, where I could yap to anybody about coaching at any point, and I probably will. If I'm in a social setting, And we're not talking about coaching or some regards like that. Sounds pretty lame. But I'm like, I don't really have much to talk about here because coaching is my life. Coaching is slowly becoming Kivah's life. And it's, it just highlights that like confidence is built through doing the fucking thing. You're not just going to be confident immediately. Anybody who knows Kivah, anybody who's known Kivah from the start will say his confidence has grown fucking exponentially since he started as a coach. And I remember when you started getting into more coaching, started this year, pretty much, was like where you're actually taking on one-on-one clients and things like that in the space. And I'd always told him like my reason why I love coaching, like what it gives me from a purpose perspective, why it fulfills me, why I do the things that I do, why I'm willing to go above and beyond for clients and things like that. And it gives you like this just feeling of knowing you're doing something good for someone else and helping them in their journey, whatever that journey might be. I remember Kivah coming home to me one day and it was either you just got like feedback from someone or someone had achieved something that like they didn't think they were able to do. And you were just like, dude, I get it.
Yeah.
It's like, I fucking get it now.
Yeah.
And I was looked at him and I was like, what are you talking about? Sometimes he just yaps. He's like, I
that
get it now.
I do that
It's
a
like,
lot.
I fucking get why you love this. And I was like, sat there and we had a really good discussion around it. And I want you to sort of dive into like that first time, like whether you can't remember whether it was the feedback or you
It was feedback.
Yeah.
It was feedback. Yeah.
So dive into that, mate.
Yeah, cool. So what I'm slowly learning is coaching, you're not just working with anyone. You're working with people who have feelings and emotions and goals and aspirations, and you're kind of more or less sort of taking all of that on board, and you're trying to help guide this person to a sense of success. And at the time, the person that I was dealing with was just going through a lot. Like they were going through a lot. They had a lot of their personal stuff just fall to pieces. They were trying to achieve their goals. They had just a lot going on in work life. It was all sort of falling apart in their world. But I was able to sort of sit down with them and sort of rationalize a few things with them and bring a few things to light and go, well, you can still do this and we can still work on that. And, this is only temporary, and all the stuff to kind of help lift them up. And, from there on, we went into our session, and I think from memory, we're just doing some squat technique and we're working through a few things, and everything was sort of clicking. And it had been a few weeks where things just didn't really feel right. But this one session, things were sort of clicking and it was starting to feel a little bit more second nature. I remember the person coming up to me at the end and being like, thank you. And they just said thank you, and they walked off, went on with the rest of their day. I received a message later on, and it was a very long-winded message, but it was just basically saying, thank you for not giving up on me, which kind of like struck a little bit of a chord in a sense, because I was like, wow, to have that effect, that positive effect on someone else, especially when things feel out of reach or out of touch and it all feels like it's falling apart in their world, you can almost have this very positive effect, very uplifting effect to someone else where they can go, thank you for not giving up on me. And obviously there was a little bit more in the message, which was very lovely. But I think it was just that one sentence that sort of kind of struck me. And it was a moment for me to kind of step back and reflect on my journey a little bit more. But it was also going back to, again, like I got to feel the reward from being able to help someone in that sense. And then from there, next session, things were starting to look on the up. And it's almost like that person's whole mentality changed after that one little session. And all it was a couple cues on squats. It's literally all it was. We had a nice chat, we had a nice sit down, and we just spoke about a few things. A few emotions were thrown around. But it was just after a couple cues and one movement, it was enough to make them go, this is all going to be fine. It's all going to work out, right?
And that in itself is like, it's a fucking beautiful feeling. And it's so cool because oftentimes it has nothing to do with the squat. It has nothing to do with the cues. It has nothing to do with what they're doing in the gym space. It's all to do with that little bit of extra belief they've now built in themselves.
Yep.
And when you actually get to help somebody by believing in them before they believe in themselves, and you get to truly witness them like coming to their own and maybe shift a little bit from the shy, awkward kid
Yeah.
at
Yeah,
16 to a very confident adult who just wants to help change people's lives for the better. And like, it's a fucking cool feeling.
It's an amazing
It's a
feeling.
good feeling.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling. And that feeling is like, you chase that. You chase that. It's like you want to problem solve for people because you really fucking love watching them come into their own.
Yeah.
Like, I say it time and time again, my favorite thing as a coach is nothing to do with the gym. It's watching someone become more confident, more belief in themselves, to do things outside of the gym. It doesn't have to be training. All of a sudden, they might have the confidence to start a new job, start a new business, start coaching, go and hit the platform for the first time, or enter the fucking high rocks, or like whatever the case might be for that individual. Watching somebody go from a point of not believing in themselves and slowly but surely over time segmentally increasing their own confidence through building habits, through building, habit stacking things, building discipline, creating these routines and structures around their life. Now all of a sudden they're building confidence.
Yeah.
That confidence then carries through. That little bit of self-belief that they've established in the gym carries through into other areas of their life, and it has such a positive flow-on effect. We all know the research around training and its effects on mental health. We all know how good we feel physically after we've gone and had a hard session or had a heavy session. And not every session's going to feel that way. Some sessions might drop you down. Funnily enough, I had a fucking memory pop up on my phone this morning of about 12 months ago, and I'd failed. It would have been yesterday, 12 months ago, and then today was the story. But I'd failed like a deadlift twice, a weight that I've done multiple times previously. And on that day, I was like, all right, I'm packing it up and going home. But I came back the next day and I fucking did it. And I got the weight up and I was just standing there at the top and I looked over and I can't even remember whether it was Kivah or it was Alex, but someone was at the gym and I was like, well, at least I fucking stood up with it today. And I think that that's probably one of the best things that powerlifting taught me is that like you can do hard shit. It's not always going to be easy. And sometimes it will knock you down a peg or two.
Oh yeah, it
or
will.
3, 40. But you can overcome.
Yeah.
You can overcome things. And when we talk about overcoming things, that kind of leads me into the next discussion point.
Yeah.
And that is, we kind of briefly touched on before Kivah doing APL nuts a couple weeks ago now. But I briefly touched on it when I put a post up, but I didn't really, dive too deep into it. When we were prepping for Nats, Kivah
would have been 2 weeks into prep.
Yeah, we were about 2 weeks in. So we'd done a whole build phase, like competed, qualified. We were fucking feeling good. And one day was deadlifting, warming up for deadlifts. Wasn't even deadlifting. 120 on the bar.
Yep.
Back went bang.
Yep.
Now, 120 kilos to some might be heavy. To someone else who has deadlifted 300 twice and 290 quite regularly, 120 is not a great deal of weight.
No.
So for the back to go bang,
and it went bang.
was a little bit worrisome. I remember sending through, it was like, all right, fuck, go see Dave, see what we've got. And it was basically, prep's probably over.
Yeah.
And that was about 10 weeks out.
Yep.
10 or 11 weeks out.
Yeah.
We were like, all right, prep's over. To the point where he went his space, gave his spot away in Nats. We basically just accepted that potentially prep wasn't going to happen. Now, as a coach, my job is never to push someone past the point that they physically can handle, but I will always push somebody to the point where I believe they can. And sometimes offering that little bit of extra belief in them helps them to understand that it's probably going to be okay for themselves as well. Basically what we did was removed deadlifts from the program for 2 weeks.
Yep.
We found exercises that Kivah could perform pain-free. Now, mind you, he was barely able to walk around at this point in time. So that meant we weren't able to do normal bench. It was basically feet up, flat back, or Larsen.
It was just feet up.
Yeah, feet up, flat back. We couldn't do squats. We couldn't do deadlifts. We're 10 weeks out. We're like, okay, cool. Well, regardless of whatever happens with nationals, we're going to still keep you trying to train as best as we can.
Yeah.
Found a couple of lower entry points, some exercises that we could do, including hinging, GHR, back extensions, and things like that.
Couple light squatting variations.
And from there, we're about 2 weeks later, things started to like click again a little bit more. And he's like, okay, I think I'm going to try and squat today. And I was like, all right, sweet, go for goal. So went and squatted, squats went well. Started to bench again. Bench started to go well. Like, okay, cool.
Some momentum there.
Let's see. And then he got the all clear from Dave, our osteo friend, to try just lower level deadlifts and see how they felt. And fortunately,
they felt all right.
They felt good. Well, not great, but they were okay.
They were all right.
And we were like, you know what? Let's just sort of dabble and see what we can come up with here.
And I think at this time, this put us about 7 weeks out.
Yeah, it was 8 weeks out when we started deadlifting again. Yeah. So basically, like, back blown, no deadlifting, no squatting, no bench. A few weeks off of all of it. Started to rip back in again. And very quickly, after injuries or after some time away, people actually come back to where they were previously a hell of a lot quicker than it took them to get there for the first time. Their body has already adapted to it. Now, looking at it from a physiological perspective, yes, we do reduce our ability to perform things, especially after some time off and all of that. The skill-based aspect of things also depletes. Fortunately, Kivah's been doing this for long enough now that we could actually still push it a little bit, and we were a little bit more confident to ramp maybe slightly quicker than we would potentially previously.
Yeah.
And we started to generate and build some really fucking good momentum.
Some fairly solid momentum.
To the point where I was like, okay, let's see if you can get a spot at Nats.
We might be able to do this.
I was like, you need to make the decision. He was going to come down to Nats anyway. I was like, if you can compete, we're going to try and get you a spot.
Yeah.
Reached out, explained the situation. Fortunately, again, because Kivah's the nicest guy in APL or just powerlifting in general, people are going to go above and beyond to try and help. Now, he was given a spot, but it was in the under 100s because there hadn't been any available spaces come up in the under 90s, which is where he competes. So we were actually prepping him to compete in the under 100s.
We were.
Sleeved.
Yes.
Tested division.
Which is a big old weight class.
Which is a big jump. It's a big number. It's, you know, if you're somebody who competes under 90s and generally will walk around high 80s, not even filling the 90s completely, competing in the under 100s is a pretty big increase. And It was one of those things that we were like, spoke with George, his nutritionist, and we were like, well, we're not going to push him to the under 100s like and fill it out, obviously, because he's just going to get fat and that's not going to do anything.
It was just more scrape the line.
Yeah, mass moves mass, fellas, but fat has no contractile tissue. And so we were like, fuck, all right, well, if this is the cards we've been dealt, this is the cards we've been dealt. I feel at the end of the day, as long as we can get onto the platform and compete, that is realistically all that matters. To give you like just a little bit more time competing, a little bit more of that skill-based aspect of actually how to compete.
Yeah.
Now, it was like, what, 8 days out?
Yeah, it was about 8, 10.
Yeah, 8 to 10 days out. Yeah. Got an email. Someone had dropped out in the under 90s. Kivah was in.
We were locked in.
We were like fucking on. We were on, boys. We were on. It was on, which was phenomenal. Now, we got down there. Everything went well. You know, fucking Melbourne was sick. And I'll allow Kivah to explain how his day went.
All right.
And discuss.
Yeah. So, start off, I'll give a little bit of a shout out to the APL. Awesome event. That was insane. So, massive day, massive weekend. I competed on the Sunday morning, so obviously we had a plan in place. George, my nutritionist, we had a plan set with food, hydration, everything like that. Weigh-ins went sweet. I weighed in at a very light 86.4, which is well under the under 90s, so under 100s would have been a very big push. But we got there. So fairly nervous. I tend to get quite nervous the day before, but I can still hold a bit of food down. By the morning, Sunday morning, I was freaking out. I feel like I was holding it together fairly all right, but I was freaking out inside. And anyway, we got there, early session, so I think we started lifting it. It all kicked off at 8.
Lifting started at 8, yeah. So we were there at about 7.
Yeah, so we were there fairly early just to get settled in, get a vibe, catch up with a few people. Started warming up. Everything was moving and grooving as it needed to. Everything was moving and grooving right as it needed to. Got under the bar and everything was feeling pretty tip-top. And I think it was on my last squat warm-up, a 220. I didn't feel any pain. I felt comfortable. The weight moved well. And I think that was that little switch in my head, which was like, no, you're here. 10 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, you weren't going to be here. You'd pulled out. So fast forward to that very moment, I squatted my last warm up. And there was a little flick in my head that was like, you're on. This is your time. Go out there and have fun, entertain the crowd, and go and do what you were meant to do before you had your injury. And we did that. Mm-hmm. So finished squats on 260, which is a 10 kilo PB, bench, finished at 160, which was an equal PB, and deadlifted 290, again, equal PB. But that's also
conventional.
For conventional. And that's also coming back from essentially what was an 8-week prep. So look, leading into it, I will be honest, I was a little bit nervous. I was a bit freaked out. I was like, hey, what if my back goes on my second warm-up? What could happen? Fortunately enough, nothing bad happened. But I think when I saw that momentum from my last squat warm-up and I got that excitement, it was like, we are here to do what we set out to do. And from there, I just had an amazing day. I had an incredible day bouncing off some of the most incredible people. I got the privilege of sharing the platform with some of my closest friends and just running high on the day. So again, thank you to the APL for providing the platforms that we could all compete on.
Correct. Well, you need to say what you placed, mate.
So I came first in the juniors and came second in the opens, which was a result that I didn't think was going to happen. So
which we only missed
by overall, 3 kilos.
2.5, 3 kilos, something like that.
Yes. Very close.
Something close. And if you'd locked out the 300 that we attempted.
That is very true. But look,
he'll get there. He'll get there.
As nationals, everyone wants to see a 300. So
to come back from pulling out of a comp with an injury that was quite debilitating, not even just from a physical perspective training, but like day-to-day life was quite difficult for him at this point in time. Still PB a squat and then equal bench and deadlift. Walk away with first on the day and only come 2.5 kilos under coming first overall in that weight class is fucking crazy. And I say it every time, but like the caliber of lifting has just gone so ballistic. The level of like comps is going through the roof.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see, like, you know, previously everyone's goals were like 600, 650. Yeah. Now it's like you got young kids who are knocking on the door of 700 plus.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've come home from Nats. We've created a plan of attack where hungry for more. Yeah. Kivah's still got a few years in the juniors.
Yeah.
Where we're definitely going to be coming for more. Put on mass.
Yes.
Put on a bit of size.
Absolutely.
Fill out the frame a little bit more. Eat more food. Listen to Jordan. And yeah, it honestly just goes to show that, like, with consistency, with effort, pushing when you can, pulling back when you need to, you can still achieve some really great things. I know I have discussions with clients all the time who get little niggles or like injuries, and they think it's like it's world's gone, game over for them. So you never want to tell a client like, no, you can probably just get through this, because like sometimes injuries are debilitating. And like, fortunately for Kivah, he obviously works within a gym environment. He is surrounded by people all day that are lifters, etc.
Yep.
He doesn't have to work an office job where he has to sit or anything like that. So that in itself probably helped him out a hell of a lot. We're very fortunate in the fact that we have some really great people around us, from Dave, from George, myself, who are all basically work together to get the job done to get you to the platform. And I'm obviously very excited for next year already. Hopefully it's back at the exhibition center, because that was a pretty cool event. But
Melbourne was awesome too.
Yeah, it was just a great time. It was just a good time. Like, Melbs is cool. But on that, like, there's a young lifter starting out for the first time.
That's a good question.
What advice would you give them? And then I have 3 actual questions, because that pretty much wraps us up for today. But I have 3 actual questions that I'm going to ask you as well.
I am going to start off with something that's going to sound very cliche, but it has truth to it. Just start. don't be afraid to not start. And again, for me, the first time I stepped in the gym, I fell in love with it straight away. Beforehand, I was actually a bit scared to go into a gym until my mate was like, hey, let's go to a session together. So first and foremost, do not be afraid to start. Just get in and give it a crack, because you don't know until you try it. Okay. I think as well, when things like injuries or little niggles, they do pop up, it's not the end of the world. That is the biggest thing. And I had a few little flare-ups here and there along the way, like some buggy knees or elbows, whatever. And for me, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my knee. My elbow's not gonna get better. Don't ever let that kind of stuff freak you out and draw you away from something if you're so passionate for it and that you love it. There are so many people in this world who can help with things like that. Okay, that's why we have coaches, we have osteos, we have physios, we have all these people in this field to help with strength athletes in general, generalized population. Don't let little things like that scare you. As you said, you need to have a bit of consistency and determination. And I'm going to use the word grit as well sometimes, depending on what the event is, or if you're competing for the first time, whatever. You have to have a little bit of grit and a bit of resilience. There are going to be things that are probably going to flare up and come up and scare you and make you nervous and anxious. But at the end of the day, you just need to keep yourself steadfast. Because I can tell you right now, I was freaking the fuck out for my very first comp. And I had the most amazing day I think I've ever had.
And you still freak out.
And I still freak out. I do.
It's quite fun.
It is. It's great.
But that's where coaching comes into it long term. You learn how to deal with lifters on the day. And I've learned when to control Kivah. I've learned when to tell him to sit the fuck down and shut up, put his headphones in. And I've learned when to tell him to take his headphones out and
have some fun.
Sit down. Yeah. So 3 questions that I ask all guests. Tell your younger self one thing. What would it be?
I'm going to go with another cliche one here, but for me, it's true. Have a lot more belief in yourself. When I first started, I did struggle to believe in myself. And there are times where I still struggle to believe in myself. And I know I do struggle. But again, and this is very much thanks to you, but also my amazing friends and family as well, is there have been times, countless of times, where you have believed in me along with everyone else. People believe in me well before I believe in myself. And I'm starting to get a bit more of a grasp on what I can achieve and what I'm capable of. But if I'm to say anything to my younger self, it's have a little bit more belief in your ability and have a little bit more belief in yourself and what you can do.
I like it. Favorite animal or dog breed?
It's got to be Samuel.
Samuel's not an animal. This is my son.
Favorite animal? Look, probably going to go with a bald eagle, purely because they live in the snow and the pine forests, and they have the freedom to soar the skies. Yeah, I'm going to go with a bald eagle.
All right. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool.
And now last question. What does strength mean to you?
I think for me, strength is a little bit more mental. It's definitely physical. Absolutely. You need, like for powerlifting, example, got to be physically strong to do the sport. But I think from what I've learned in my time experiencing a couple injuries and just, a few little things mentally as well over the years, having mental strength and a bit of mental fortitude to stay steadfast in, again, going back to believing in yourself and staying true to who you are and pursuing what you are passionate about. As I said, there are probably going to be plenty of times in someone's life where you're going to experience a lot of ups and downs, and you're going to probably experience some really low points. So I think having that mental strength to overcome those and continue to push yourself, even when times are hard and they do get a bit sucky and it almost doesn't seem like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, being able to use a bit more of an all-round mental approach and having that mental strength to help push you through is something that I'm very grateful for, and I'm still learning and I'm still trying to improve upon over my years as well. So
fucking love that.
Yeah.
And Samuel's decided to wake up and become involved. Have you got anything to say? Have you got something to say to the podcast?
Like, oh, Dad, I want some food, man.
Nothing to say?
Say treaties. I want treaties.
Nothing of no. Dad.
Oh no, I didn't say that.
All right, that's us.
Awesome.
If you've listened all the way through, thank you. If you need to find Kivah on Instagram, what's your Instagram again?
It's just Kivah-Nova Franze. So it's my name. So Kivah_Nova. _FRANZE.
Put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
I'll also, when I put this post up on Instagram, he'll be there. But he'll also he's all over my Instagram anyway, so you'll be able to find him no matter what. If you've listened, thank you very much. Please, if you took anything from this, if you got some value, reach out to myself, reach out to Kiva, ask questions,
Please.
Send us a message, let us know. We love it. Leave a comment, like, comment, subscribe, all the rest. Send to a friend. Honestly, thank you very much. I hope you all have a fucking fantastic day, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you all very much.